Hello, welcome to basically Business Resources. This is your first assignment that you're going to be given, and basically I'm going to give you a guide of how to write it. Right, the first example I'm going to use is SGS College, okay? And basically what I'm going to do is run through it. For your assignment, you're going to have several different options. You can pick any one you want, okay? But for this example, and you are not allowed to use it, repeat, you are not allowed to use it, I'm going to use the college, and basically I'm going to run through the different sections that you have to cover and explain them, so you actually have it as an example, okay? So you can basically apply it to your own business, okay, and to your own choice. Okay, so the first thing we need to start off with was what is a resource? Well, resources are kind of like three things. You get human, financial and physical, okay? And basically it's something which helps a business performance process. I've put a link in here, you can have a look at it if you want, but it just makes it perform a process. That's literally what a building is. Now from that point we need to really know what we need to look at and the key areas we need to look at. The first area is basically a building. Without a business you can't have a building, okay? Looking at it, you need to think of each section, you need to think why. Why is that useful for the business? So when you're writing your assignment, always think why. Well, a building for SGS, obviously, provides facilities, well, to teach students. That is primarily what it does. It is designed to house classrooms and to hold a lot of people. Simple. However, you need to break down it and go into a little bit more detail. Now, to do this, what you need to do is look at something like classroom, IT room, basic things. Why do you need that? Well, it's an educational facility. It's there designed to teach people. That's what it is. If it was another building, let's say a factory, you would have a warehouse. If it was a shop, you would have a shop front. Simple. Obviously college is a big thing. You have canteens, you've got Starbucks. Well, people need to eat in these facilities. Again, college is very big. You've got things like different offices, the LRC, you've got a finance office, a HR office. All of them perform a different function, and all of them perform a function which feeds in. So for example, human resources, that helps deal with people's pay issues. Learner services helps deal with something like student problems. Finance helps sort the budgets out for the college. Those are nice simple things that you can that could be included, okay? But let's say, for example, you chose a business you want to look at, or you want to start off a business, and it might conceivably have a separate office within the main shop, like a shop might have an office at the back of it. Just a simple idea. A restaurant has a kitchen. Simples. Materials. Obviously, college runs on paper, ink, stationery. Those are basic materials which are needed. Other materials which could be needed, so let's say, for example, a shop or might have similar things, but equally it might have the materials that it's making something with. A factory might have a raw material, so for example Airbus might use some kind of alloy or something like that coming in. Those are simple materials which are used. Obviously a college is quite low in terms of actual physical materials that it uses, and it's becoming lower. A big one that you'll need to focus on is waste. Now waste is something which, whatever happens, is something that basically leaves or is a drain and it's inefficient. We'll make a bigger deal about waste as we go later on in the course, but it just means it's something that's going out and that costs money, and that's so important to a business because it needs to save money, and inefficiencies can happen in so many different ways. We're going to focus on three areas, but you could also focus on wastage of people as well, but that kind of goes beyond what we're talking about. So in this picture we see, for example, recycling. You can recycle different types of paper. The college has different types of bins around the site. That's something you can pick up. There's also electrical waste. For example, the college actually turns off its computers at night, and that's done automatically. Also, all the lights are turned off. That's a big cost. Electricity bills are very expensive, especially if you see how big the building is. Another big one which we forget about is actually wastage and heat. That can go out through your walls, your windows, and also through your ceiling. Heating bills is usually one of the most expensive utility bills you'll have as a business, and it's something that a business can clamp down on. For example, closing the window, closing doors. Those are simple things. Why is this important? Why are all these wastage things important? Because of money, and that will go for whatever example you choose. Okay, so because of money, they need to reduce waste, and it doesn't matter how big or small the business is, it is a big deal. And you can look at these three areas basically. So you can look at general waste, as we picked out about the recycling. You can look at electrical waste, but you can also look at waste heat and waste of energy, which is a big deal. Okay, plant and machinery. That just means something that's big and fixed. Okay, that is generally specialised. If it's a fact, this really does with heavy industry. So, for example, in production, a robot, if you talked about an oil rig, it will be the physical rig and the drilling equipment. But those are very heavy industries. The college really only has one bit of really super heavy equipment, unless you go to construction. Okay, well, we might make an argument of some other areas. But the big piece of equipment is actually a lift, because you need people to be trained on site for health and safety regulation. It's not the biggest, but it does exist. Obviously, a college has to also take into account emergency provision and other safety providers. This can include, and is not exclusive to, obviously fire extinguishers, lighting. There is emergency lighting across the college. There's also fire alarms, first aid kits, which are general. And you also have to train members of staff with that. You also have all the fire precautions like the horns, the megaphones, and the hard hats. Those are all important areas of which a college needs to deal with. You have got things like different types of fire extinguishers for different fires. Again, you're trying to save lives. You've got a lot of people in the college. You don't particularly want them dead. It's just common sense that you need to get them moving. You need to basically keep them safe. These are simple things that, these are simple physical tools which help the college keep its, customers safe. That will go for any business again, so it's something you can kind of adapt and pick up and change. But you need to think about it and use a bit of creativity. Okay, now equipment is basically anything that you need to actually, which is physically in the building. Obviously, with a college, a simple thing is a chair or a desk. If you're in a shop, it will be a shop fitting. It could be the fittings which go into the actual shop, and the other things. If it was a bank, it could be like the bank desk and the wall, and just basic things like that. It's really quite straightforward. If it's a football club, it could be the footballs. If it's a cricket club, it could be the cricket equipment. It's just that. What I want to see here really is just explaining why. It doesn't have to be completely comprehensive, but it does have to sit there and go, why? Why do you need these things? Well, you can't teach people standing up. You can, but it doesn't really work. But equally, you can't. It makes it much harder to do your job. Same with a desk. You need to have a desk to sit in. Simple. Like if you said a football club, Bradley Stoke FC or whatever it is called, you could sit there and say, well, they need a football to kick in the goal. It's pretty straightforward. Obviously, not that simple, but maybe for a shop you could think of something like a till. Basic stuff, but you explain why you need it. Why do you need it? And that is the key. That is what will get you this P. That is what will get you the marks. Other equipment, which I would expect you to put in there. We're talking more about like technical equipment now, so we're looking at things like smartboards, PCs, projectors. Why do you need that in a college? Well, you need to do your assignments. You need to research things, and also technology is becoming more of an important thing. Another thing which is worth mentioning is the server, which is the thing in the bottom corner. That big thing controls all the computers around. It's actually much cheaper to use a server, and also means everything can be centralized, which makes it cheaper to you can just install the software on that one machine and it goes on all of them. That's something that helps out. Okay, now this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. Basically, right, a technological resource is basically something which is anything which is covered by technology. Now, there's a thing called intellectual property, and basically intellectual property is something that you own, but it might not be physically or materially there. So for example, a drawing, that can cover the technical design and the diagram of a product, including the drawing of a patent. Basically that means anything which, like a design of something. So let's say I designed a bike, it would be the bike design. It's to keep it, so to stop it from being taken away. Text could be like, for example, the Coca-Cola text is a style or a content. Tesco's logo, the way that text is there, that is to do with Tesco's. Google's just changed its logo, again, something there. Designs cover the feature, which is anything that covers the feature or decorations, including colours, lines, materials or shapes. So for example, EE, it's got the blue and the yellowy thing, that is all a design. And you can't move it, you can't change it. Video, anything which clips within websites or protections against copying or performance of public placing, so anything like that. So corporate video would include it. Music, anything which is being produced, which, you know, to the business, which they own. Okay, so let's say like We're Loving It from McDonald's, that is an example. Okay, so this is SGS. You've got in the top corner YouTube video, which is from their website, which is someone like pouring some kind of acid. At the bottom you've got the Suited, Booted and Recruit. That's actually trademarked, and that's actually from the college itself. And you've got the logo and the design and also the text, and also the colours. Same with the actual logo itself. The text, design and colours is all trademarked to the college. So it belongs to them. These are all intellectual properties which belong to them. So for example, if you had a shop, it would be the shop sign, which would belong to them. If you had a factory which made bikes, it might be the fact that they've painted a bike. Okay, to say that's what belongs to them. But intellectual property is something which belongs to you, and it can't be copied. Technological resource, this is accumulated skills and experience. This is really of people and how they use their resources. So for example, a teacher in a college like me, I've got several years of experience. If I go, it's hard to replace me, but also in a college you do have lots of different experts, and also these professions do have, so for example you have an accountant, you have managers, you have learning support workers, you have counsellors. They are all people who make a valid contribution to the college. They are all needed. You need someone to look at the books. You need someone to basically manage where staff go. You need people to deliver lessons. That's all to try and feed into the experience to make a better experience. You need to think about it for your business and why. So for example, if you owned, let's say a shop, why? Why do you need that person? Why? What do they do? Is it hard to replace that experience? It probably is hard to replace a teacher with several years' experience. It's not easy. The last area is basically software licenses. The basic ones are Windows 10, Microsoft Office, but you know, for example, the college uses Turnitin, which is plagiarism software. They do that to stop plagiarism because they don't want people copying things. There is loads of different specialist designs, but you need to research and think, why do they use it? What I would suggest is when you do a table and you create it, I would always just suggest just say why after each bit. Why? Why do we need this? Okay, so think about what they need and then think, why do they need it? Why do they need Microsoft Windows? Re-emphasize that all over and over again. For each point, you will not go far wrong. And with IP, just persevere, look at that table, go back to the video and think, what does this mean? Okay, how does this apply to